From the center of the universe, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, this is the SDM Show with your host, Rob Cairns. The SDM Show focuses on business, life, productivity, digital marketing, WordPress, and more. Sit back, relax, grab your favorite drink, and enjoy the show. Here is Rob.
Hey everybody, I'm Rob Cairns. I'm the founder, CEO, and chief technologist at Stunning Digital Marketing. In today's podcast, I have my good friend, Mr. Bud Kraus, with me, and we're going to talk about what happens in a WordPress community as you get older. Sit back, relax, enjoy the show. This episode is brought to you by All-in-One WP Migration, the most trusted WordPress migration plugin with over 60 million sites served. Whether you are switching hosts, changing domains, or moving to a new server, All-in-One WP Migration makes it one click. Try it for free at WordPress.org or visit servemass.com for pro features.
Let's get serious.
Hey everybody, Rob Cairns here, and today I'm my guest, Mr. Bud Kraus, Joy WP. Hey Bud, how you doing, man?
Okay, Rob. Oh God, where are we going?
Yeah, well, it's funny because we should have just recorded the last 20 minutes of outtakes and been done with this whole extravaganza.
Yeah.
And by the way, before we get into this podcast, hey Westgard, see the hat? Send sponsorship dollars here. Anyway,
that's right.
That's another story. Kidding aside, because you and I both love our good friend Mark Westgard, so that's the way it is. Today we thought you had a serious topic, and I actually think we need to address it anyway. And it's what do we do with people or how do we manage with people that are getting older in the WordPress space?
Who would that be?
Yeah.
But I do have some serious thoughts here. Yeah.
Yeah, you, me, and the rest of the world. And I look at guys like you're older than I am. And I look at guys like our good friend Mr. Bob Dunn. By the way,
who's
Bob,
younger.
I'll take your sponsorship dollars too while you're at it, because I'm in a mood today. But he's another one who's been podcasting forever.
Sure.
And dear friends of ours. And then I look at where a lot of the resources are and the knowledge base is, and it's with older people. So how do we manage that?
Well, I think I have a sort of a different, I'm going to answer that a little differently than your question.
Yeah,
and something that's been on my mind because, I'm not going to, well, there's a couple of things. One is, we're not going to be here forever. And it would be sort of nice if we were memorialized in one way or another for our commitment, our involvement with the WordPress community. I'm not saying, hey, establish a fund and scholarship or something in my name, but that'd be kind of cool. That, because after we're no longer involved in the community or no longer here, what do we do to memorialize these people that were really some of the original or people that, were involved in the WordPress community for a long time? There should be a way, a website, a fund, whatever, that so that you, me, and whatever, however, I know that I'm, rambling here, but some way to, I don't know, Hall of Fame, you know what I'm getting at, some way to remember these people after they're gone. I think there's an important thing here. And the other thing is about getting old too. We all are. I have been around for a long time now. I've seen people in their 30s become 40s, 40s become 50s. This isn't just me. But, I must say, I go to a lot of WordPress events, and sometimes I just feel a little aged out. You know what I mean? What am I doing with all these kids? And do these people still accept me? I do think that because our cultural references are different than their cultural references, all that stuff, and sometimes I just feel a little, I wouldn't say, well, maybe I do. I feel a little bit left out. So there's a whole lot of things here that aren't just, it isn't just one thing. It's a whole area that's not even ever talked about or examined in our world. Really, this is the first time I've ever, talked about this stuff.
Yeah.
So,
It's
you know,
interesting because I find that depending on which conferences I go to, I was saying to you this weekend at the time of this record, I'm going to PodCamp Toronto. And I've
hmm
seen even outside of the WordPress community in the tech community, and I've been in the tech community since I've been 15 years old, bud. I'm
yeah,
58. I'm 58 this year, 59 in September.
hmm right,
And I started my tech career on an Apple II Plus. That's a long,
yeah,
long time ago.
yeah,
And these young kids say they're good they're good designers, but they're not good marketers. And they think they always know the next best thing, and they're moving on and they're moving on and they're moving on. But the other thing I'll tell you about the younger generation is they don't have the same value for stability that we do, whether it's WordPress or outside. So let me give you an example outside of WordPress. One of the problems in North America right now is the young adults buying houses. We know what housing prices were like. You're in New Jersey,
right.
I'm in Toronto. Two of the biggest, most expensive housing markets in North America,
Yes, they
right?
are very expensive. Yes,
And the thing we don't see is the younger generation says, no money for that. But they seem to have money to travel all over the world every day. They seem to have
yeah.
money to go to all these shows. So what I'm telling you is, I think what it comes down to, even in the WordPress community, it's the value system that's different, not necessarily the people.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. I'm not really thinking when I think about this kind of thing. I'm not really looking to so much compare me to younger generations. I'm
Yeah, I
just
know you're
looking
not.
at, yeah, I'm looking like really to the future and what do we do to memorialize contributions? Who determines this? How do we determine this? So that there are recognitions of people who have come before us, and that you know, let me just tell you this little quickie thing here, which is, and I'm thinking of death, unfortunately, but you
No.
know, I am of a certain age, and I'm not really thinking of mine, but I think you die three times. Okay, once is your physical death. The
Yep.
second is memory death, when everybody who knew you is also gone. Anybody that talked to you, knew you, they're all gone. So the memory of you is gone. And the third death is digital death. So the death when there is no trace of you ever on email, websites, all of that's gone. And that, of course, will take the longest amount of time to
So I
die.
would argue, so I'm going to stop you because I would argue,
hmm
because of things like the Internet Archive Wayback Machine,
Yeah.
that your internet digital presence never goes away. I would argue
Well,
that's strong.
I get that. Okay. And I take your point, but those things can go away too
Yep.
over time. I mean, I'm not talking like 100 years. I'm talking 500 years, 1,000. Let's say, assuming that we still are around as a species. And I think there will come a time that, I mean, I don't think you can perpetually be alive digitally, although some people will be, but most of us will not survive digitally. So that's just whatever.
I'm working on an AI bot right now to solve that problem, but that's
Well,
I don't know.
see, that's very interesting. And I agree that, like, for example, I suspect there will be a time, and it's not that far away right now, actually, where my grandchildren could go to, a source, like a Notebook LM or something, and say, "What would Papa Buddy have done?" And the computer will speak out loud in my voice what I would have done. We know that's all coming. I mean, that's basically here already. So, I mean, I think that's unbelievable, but that's still a digital presence. And will that live forever? I don't know. I don't think
Yeah,
so.
yeah,
That's my opinion.
yeah.
But anyway,
By
yeah,
by the way, if you want a cool project, WordPress aside, take some of the elder people in your family and
yeah.
voice record and have them tell their favorite
Well,
story.
I am the
I,
older person in my family.
yeah,
Okay.
and you are, but I mean
Yeah,
other
I know.
families, and save those because they're really
Yeah.
important. So
Well,
I I
I have this podcast called Seriously, but you probably heard of it. You were on it,
yeah,
of course.
I've been on it.
Early, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. One of the early ones. And that will end up being not as much as anything a history of my life because I'm on and you're on your every episode. I'm on my every episode. These will be our histories in many
Yeah.
ways.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've thought
Yeah.
of that, right?
Yeah, I have, but it's not why I did the show. I mean,
Right. No, it's a
I know, I
byproduct.
know, I know you started yours. I actually started mine in COVID in 2010 in 2020. I was
Right.
bored one day and I did a couple interviews. I did a couple more. I did a couple more. And what the heck did I end up with? Like 30 shows, 30, and I just kept going. And
When I think I did, was I on your 600th? Something like that. I think I
you
was.
you you did a recording for my 600? Yeah, graciously.
Wow. Oh, was everybody on your 600th, right? Didn't everybody like chip in
Yeah,
and
anybody
yeah,
who
yeah, yeah.
wanted to chip in, and if anybody's heard the 600, my partner Tiz has the last word on that show. No question.
Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna have to go back and listen to that too. But I did hear it. It was really good, the 600th. I'm gonna do something like that for my 600th. Seriously, but
Yeah,
but I don't think I'm gonna get to 600. Okay, just not happening.
I never thought in my wildest dreams I'd get to 600. It was
Of
just
course not. Yeah,
something I
it's
like doing. And if I can share expertise, and that's the way I've always looked at it.
right.
I'd be lying if I told you it's not good for the business. But if I
Hmm.
can share expertise with other people and make their life better,
Sure.
then
Yeah.
then I've done my job well. But
Well, podcasters get addicted to podcasting, don't they? I mean, I
yeah.
found out they like it. Otherwise, they wouldn't do it. They like talking to people. They like
Do you
recording,
know why
editing.
you know why you like it though? Because you're the vintage or the life, I'm sorry, but where you probably grew up listening to AM radio.
Absolutely, Rob. Ding,
And
ding,
I
ding.
grew up and I grew
You
up
got
in
it.
Montreal listening to AM radio. I used to sit up at night and play
KDKA.
what I call spin the dial because I'm a sports fan, growing
Yeah,
up in suburban Montreal and saying, what non-Montreal Canadiens event could I find? Or
right,
what non-Canadian radio show out of upstate New York could I find?
right. And
And
same thing.
and I
I would. Hey, can I get KMOX? Can I get
yeah,
KDKA? Can I
yeah,
get
yeah, yeah.
KCBS? Can I get whatever? I wanted to, especially the K's because they were like west of the Mississippi. But and that was only at night, right? But
Yeah,
you're absolutely right. It was and I'm still attracted to. I listen to AM radio all the time. Still, okay.
yeah,
It's just there's just something about the talking of people, that.
yeah.
And yes, you're one of the very few people that have ever said what you just said because you're
Mm,
old.
thank you. And not only I dabble in AM radio, I dabbled in shortwave radio at one
I
time
knew that
too.
was coming too. And I think we've had this conversation where I always want, we did. And I wanted to do that too, but I never got around to it. But I was always fascinated by the shortwave
The
stuff.
BBC World Service and
Yeah.
finding out
Yeah.
what was going
Oh,
because
yeah.
there was a time in this in North America.
Yeah.
That now's different. We've got TV
Yeah.
on 24/7 news channels,
Yeah. I know.
CNN,
I know. I know.
local
I know.
channels. In Canada, CTV and CBC news channels. I don't need to wait for a newspaper. I can go to TV now and find out what's going on.
Yeah. But it was the only way that we could see beyond the horizon or hear
Yeah,
beyond the horizon.
yeah, of course.
Because our world was so limited. It was basically our town or whatever where we were living. And you just, so anytime we had an opportunity to hear what was going on beyond our what our world was, well, I was fascinated by that. You were too.
Yeah, and here's the
Yeah.
beauty of this. We're doing a podcast and you're in your home in New Jersey, and I'm sitting in a friend's house in the suburb of Toronto in Mississauga, out towards the
Right.
airport. And
Yes.
we're
I know
2,000
where it
miles
is.
up,
No, we're
and we're
not.
two.
No,
Yeah,
we're not. No,
a thousand miles
500,
apart.
600. No, we're not. We're about
But
600,
it's
if that.
but it's not the point. We're still 600 miles apart, and we're having a chat. And
Uh,
the internet has closed down a lot of those old mediums because of that.
yeah. Well, yeah, but I still, like them and use them and stuff. Yeah.
So do I.
All right. So what
Um,
about old? We're because today is old day.
yeah,
I
thanks.
I once mentioned to Bob Dunn, our friend, that we should have something like the graybeards of WordPress, and he said, "Well, what are you
Yes.
going to do about the women?" But I don't know. What do you can't do it? Who wants to do a club that draws attention to your age?
Yep.
You know, I don't think so. But you know. I don't
Uh,
know. Oh, I have to say, this is funny, Rob. Now, for a while, this has sort of stopped, but for a while, I would go to a word camp and people almost universally said, "Hey, how old are you?" They would say it to me. And I would,
yep.
you know, like, "Well, how old do you think I am?" And then whatever. But I did once bring this up to Matt Mullenweg when he was at State of the Word in New York City. So
Yep.
we were
That was a number of
talking.
years ago.
I may have said this to you. I don't know. And we were talking, and I said, Matt, I think I'm the oldest person in WordPress. And he says, "Well, how old are you?" And I said, at the time, 67. And he says, "No, but you're getting there," which I thought. And then I said, well, who is the oldest person? He said, "There's a few that are older than you." And I said, "Well, I'm going to be around for the next 20 years, so get used to me." But so, uh, yeah, I don't know,
But age is relative too. So,
Sure it
and
is. Yeah.
where I'll go is my partner's father, Renato, is 87 years old, bud.
Mm-hmm.
Said- Okay, 88 this year.
Right. Right.
You know what? The youngest above 85-year-old person I know. He goes to
Mm-hmm.
the gym 3 days a week. He goes to the social club. He's busy. He
Right.
never sits, and he's always, like kids will say, MacGyvering something to fix something. So
Uh-huh.
the point is, it's all what you do with it. But
Yes.
the biggest problem we have on WordPress with a lot of the knowledge base starting to get older is how do we transfer that knowledge to the younger part of WordPress and not lose it? That
Well, what kind of
is
knowledge do you want
interesting.
to? All right, yeah, but what kind of knowledge do you want to transfer? I mean, because they would say, "Well, listen here, old man, I could use AI, I could do this, I could do that. What do you mean?" And I
The
don't mean to call you
history.
an old man because you're
Yeah,
younger.
but I would disagree. There's a lot of things that we just do because of experience that AI can't replace.
No, I understand, but does you mean the history of WordPress and how things are
Well,
the
the
way they
history
are?
were, yeah, the way they are, why we've done things, historical standpoints. If you don't have that transition, sooner or later you lose it.
No question, and I think that's WordPress now at its age 25 or whatever the hell. It's starting to definitely move past that era, of
Yeah.
being new and it's now a global multi-billion dollar. It has been for a while,
Yeah.
and it's sort of its early days are, and I remember the early days. They're over,
Yeah.
they really
Yeah.
are. When it was seems like it was so much smaller than it is
Mm,
today, And well, now I mean, it played a now one thing that I always noticed though about aging is I've said this many times, and you just mentioned about this person who was it 85 years old, that was it your father-in-law, well, father-in-law to be, I
my,
guess, or can I say
yeah.
that?
Renato, my partner's father. Yeah, you
Oh,
did.
okay, yeah, you're okay. So, all right, um, what was I thinking? You see, that's a problem with age. That I'm really fortunate to be in the WordPress community because whether they know it or not, they are keeping me young. And um, when you get to be my age, and usually people my age are retired, and I have no interest in retiring because what would I do? This is too much fun. I'm having too much
I
fun.
have the same problem. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Why would well, I'm having too much fun. Why would I stop doing? Why would I stop doing fun? But what happens is mostly most people my generation, their circle of friends, influence, knowledge gets smaller. They watch
Yep.
more TV, they don't go out as
Yep.
much. Da, da, da,
Yep.
da.
Yep.
I'm just the opposite. I'm just
Mhm.
the opposite. My life is just getting, more contacts, bigger, more interesting, more it's amazing. I mean, and that's why I feel that, you can make this time of your life the most productive part of your life ever. You're free. You shouldn't hopefully have to worry too much about money, maybe not at all. You can say whatever the hell you want to say. You can have fun. It's really very liberating. This age is the most liberating I've ever
Yeah,
been.
it
So,
is.
yeah, yeah.
And the thing is, how like some of us are going to do stuff. We're probably not going to do. We do what we do at our age because we like doing it, not because we
hmm
have to do it in many cases.
Well,
So,
right. I mean, I don't have to, but God, I have to in the sense for, emotional,
yep, yep, yep.
all that kind of stuff. I mean, how lucky am I to have this not this podcast, but the Seriously Bud podcast, and also to do technical writing for various companies, and that they pay me to learn stuff. You know,
Mhm. Yeah,
now, and I know based on what I understand, that I'm not going to, even though I do writing, the kind of writing I do is not yet being replaced by AI. Now, I don't know forever, who knows? But right now, no. So because I don't, AI, all the commodity articles that you used to see on how to do this and how to do that, those are dead because of AI.
yep,
But the more like opinionated, more detailed, more structured, more whatever, they're still more technical. There's still room for people like me that write that kind of stuff. So,
yes.
and I ask not just AI, but I ask people that all the time from different companies, do you still see like a future for me? And like a guy my age, asking that kind of question is like, well, because I want to continue doing what I'm doing. That's why.
Yep. Yep. And the other thing is, it's interesting because you're doing it. And in the design fields, because we see a lot of people going younger, a lot of companies going younger, and people are respecting you for your expertise at your age, and that's to be commended. But
Well, I think that people who know me now, I'm very goofy and joke around about all the time. But when I do work, I'm very serious about the work. But I
yeah,
am
me
not
too.
serious about, yeah, but I'm not serious about myself. That's kind of obvious. But I mean, because I like to laugh, have a good time, joke with people and stuff,
Yeah,
call them all kinds of names to their face, like. But when it comes to if you're paying me to do something, I take it very, that's a different story, you know, then it's
yeah.
business. Yeah.
I
So,
agree. I think that's just reality. Now, what I would also say is if anybody's getting older in this space and you have clients on the go,
hmm
maybe you should be thinking about a succession plan.
not a bad
Maybe
idea. Yeah.
maybe you should be thinking about a plan of what if something happens to me,
Yeah.
how is this managed?
Well,
Maybe it should be maybe I'll go one more. Maybe you
right.
could be thinking of a plan. If something happens to me, what
hmm
about my digital world? What about my digital assets? Does
Well,
anybody know where they are?
now, just this is so interesting because Stephanie Hudson, paging Stephanie Hudson, come to the room. If you know Stephanie, I know you know Stephanie, right?
I do
Do you know
very much so.
Stephanie? Yeah, I've never met her. Have you ever met Stephanie?
No.
Well, you've never met me either. So, but anyway, Stephanie, this is something that is of great concern to her. And she's been talking about it. Maybe she's done something with this as far as forming some kind of business or consultancy, or I don't know exactly. But she had a very serious, I
No.
guess was it diabetes, right? Was that
She's
what it was?
diabetic. She had a major
Yeah.
diabetic episode 2 years
Yeah,
ago.
exactly. Right. And as a result of that experience, when she was incapacitated for quite a long time, she now realizes like, what happens if I'm a solopreneur what happens to my business if I can't do anything for 6 months? And so she's talked about setting that whole system up for, uh, well, we'll step in and we'll do XYZ for you. We'll take care of your accounts receivables and pay it, whatever it is, all the things to keep you at least in business until you can get back.
But
Um,
it's not just a business, Bud. What happens to all those priceless memories that nobody has? What
oh,
happens to access to your personal bank account
right,
that
right.
no one do? I have actually got in my lockbox in the house an envelope that says, if
Yeah,
anything ever happens to me, here's a list of everything digitally you have to deal with. And I
yeah,
update that list every 2 months, Bud. I,
really.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
but you have, yeah, I know why. Now I do have, my daughter knows and my wife knows where all my usernames and passwords are, which I think is like the most important thing. Because if I were to die, oh my God, perish the thought, right? I guess
yeah.
that's probably not going to happen. But if it were to happen, they would need access to all that stuff, and they probably wouldn't want to be spending, God only knows, months trying to get into some accounts.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't want that. Yeah. So I think that's a very good point. For anybody listening, have a plan, not even a succession plan. That's a different kind of a thing, but so that people know where your stuff is and how
Yes.
to access it. Yeah. Is there a business that does this kind of thing?
I don't know, but
Yeah.
I've talked about it before on the show
Right.
like a
Right.
couple of years ago. I just think it's a concern that people should have. I mean, I'm perishing the day something happens to my mom because I know who's going to be the one that cleans that up.
Oh yeah, I
Um,
do too. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Well,
it's
hopefully that's not for a long time to come, really, because,
I hope so.
your
Yes,
mom's a spring chicken. She's a kid.
I know.
I call everybody a kid, whether they're older or younger than me. They're all kids.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Um, so there's some of that. And then the other question is, and by the way, that digital list should also include a client list. If something happens, here's who you got to contact.
Yeah. Well, that's not a bad idea. Yeah, it's a very good idea. That there really has to
Yeah.
be yeah, it's like these are like living wills or wills and stuff like that. Just like documents that people
Yeah.
need to have access so that they're not struggling to put all this information together because they're going to have to put it together one way or the other. You might as well make it easy.
Yeah, I agree. Is there
Yeah.
anything else you wanted to add or share, Bud, about your thoughts on this one?
Uh, seriouslybud.com. No, I don't know.
You come
Yeah.
from
From what? Well, about
you come from
about the aging part.
yeah, yeah, of course.
You want me to go back to stay on topic, right?
Yes, of course.
There was a topic. No, I just that my main reason to that I contacted you is I just wanted to put it out there that,
Yeah.
and I don't know if anything will come of this, but it would be nice to have a way. It could be very simple. It could be on the .org site. It could be, like people we lost and loved and whatever. I don't know. But some way, I mean, ideally, it'd be nice that certain people would be recognized and they'd have, a scholarship named after them or something like that that's awarded every year or 2 years or whatever. I don't know. But I just think this is a really close knit community. And you just
Yeah.
don't want to have, in the next period of time, we are going to be losing people.
Yeah.
And, what do you do about that? I mean, because WordPress is of this age. It's interesting. Yeah, this is going to become more and more of a thing as we go on. No question. So
No, I
yeah, of
agree
course
with
it's
you.
inevitable. Yeah, it's inevitable.
As
All right.
always, you're always welcome to jump on and share your thoughts. I appreciate it.
Thank you,
Um,
Rob.
and a serious note, do check out Bud's podcast, Seriously, Bud, and there's some really
Hmm.
insightful looks at different people in the community and more from the normal. technical talk because the podcast is
Well,
not a technical.
it is not a technical talk. Yes, I'm going to jump in here. Sorry. I'm proud that it's
It's
not a
okay.
technical talk, but we do, get into once in a while something technical. It's okay. But I really after the life stories, the human stories of people in the WordPress community, because there's plenty of tech talk shows, and that's not my thing. And we're coming up to episode 100 is in a couple of weeks.
No.
It's going to be a special. So, yeah.
I have some thoughts on that, but I'll share it with you after the show. And
Okay.
as always, have a wonderful day, my friend. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks, Rob.
Bye. Thanks again to our sponsor, All-in-One WP Migration by ServeMask. Export your entire WordPress site in one click, import it anywhere. No server access needed, no command line, works with every hosting provider. Free on WordPress.org, or extension at servemask.com. Very special thank you to Bud Kraus for joining me on this edition of the STM Show. The STM Show is dedicated to my late father, Bruce Cairns. Dad, I miss you very much every day. My mother, Ann Cairns, who's still doing really well and is an inspiration. And of course, Tiz Maroney. And Tiz, I know I've said it, but thank you so much for all the inspiration you give me every day.